Yeah, okay. Hi there, my name is Simran. I'm the youth liaison here at Mind Your Mind.
And I'm Scarlett Davidson, the Community Engagement and Partnership Lead at Mind Your Mind. Over to you guys.
My name is Jill Thompson. I've been a child and youth counselor working in children's mental health for about 23 years. I am one of the co-founders, directors, and frontline child and youth counselors offering support within the community through Hand in Hand.
My name is Lindsay Ensing. Same as well. I'm a child and youth counselor working for Hand to Hand. I've been a child and youth counselor for about 7 years now.
And I'm James Cairns. I've been a child youth counselor for approximately 14 years, co-founder of Hand to Hand as well.
Awesome. Thank you for introducing yourselves. Could you tell us a bit about what brought you together to create this program?
Sure. So really the concept for Hand to Hand, an in-home support service for London and surrounding community came from the idea that adolescents and their families deserve more from the current system. We're seeing a lot of wait lists, sometimes up to 3 years for service, and that whole idea of kids can't wait and families can't wait was basically what drove us to come up with the concept for an in-home adolescent support program.
Awesome. So on that note, could you actually tell us a bit more about Hand to Hand?
Yeah, so a bit of background, I think, as well in relation to us. I think our passion for providing care to children and youth and their families related to those experiencing mental health concerns and recognizing those gaps in services. We all used to work frontline inpatient mental health at London Health Science Center. So what we did is we realized that there was that gap. So what we were trying to offer from Hand to Hand is in-home support for youth, children, and their families to kind of mediate the ability to lessen the wait list that the current mental health system is actually experiencing. So offering skills, safety planning in homes, really getting to know the client and what their needs are too, right? Like we're very individualized in the sense of we pride ourselves in our ability to get to know families, youth, and what their goals are to develop their skills, what they're trying to work towards. So ultimately, whatever we can do to help kind of facilitate that is a bit about our general goal, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna work with adolescents and their families to do a lot of like anxiety management. We'll be doing some exposures, particularly with COVID. It's created another layer of stress for adolescents and their families. We've seen a lot of isolation, in particular with adolescents not attending school, and so we can help to be part of that process in transitioning our youth back to where they belong, is in the school. We also do collaboration with healthcare professionals. So whether that be psychology, social work, psychiatry, we could actually work in collaboration together.
That's awesome. Sorry, did I interrupt?
No, that's amazing. It's really cool to see that this kind of service is kind of being brought into the community. You guys mentioned in your intros that you guys do have a lot of experience within the field. We kind of wanted to know what inspired you to work specifically with youth as individuals.
You want to take that one?
Sure. So what inspired us, we have all worked in different backgrounds, everywhere from corrections to group homes to the hospital setting. And we just found as a group that there was, like we said, there's a lot of inadequacies within the system. So with all of our knowledge coming from different areas within London and surrounding area, we just felt that we could gap that, bring everything together, what we offer. We all have different strengths that we work with. So different clientele, Jill will work better with, or Lindsay will work better with, I can work better with. So as a team, we just figure out that way.
Yeah, I think what really inspires me personally are the kids and their families. You know, I've always said that being a child and youth counselor is not just a job. For us, it's that passion, it's the dedication, commitment. And so for us, you know, we really feel it in our heart. And I mean, for me specifically, I'm talking for myself, but it is such passionate work, and it's rewarding and it's amazing. And so that's really what inspires me. And it inspires me too, like James said, with the current system. And I feel like there's just not enough service. And so that's really why we wanted to try to make a small difference in our community.
Yeah.
I think too, like, and speaking for myself, but I know it's probably relatable for these guys as well, is seeing the impact that you are able to have on a youth or a child and their family. They always kind of say, like, be who you want to be. Where, like, I look at my youth and what that looked like growing up. I always remember the impactful people that were involved in my life, right? They hold a close place in your heart. And if we can have that impact in someone's life, then we know that that's what we're here for, right? Is ultimately, we're so passionate about providing that care, that support, whatever that looks like for that individual and that family. And then knowing that that made an impact, like weeks down the road, like months down the road, years down the road, that's when it really like resonates with us, knowing that we're doing what we're really passionate about doing. That's why I think, and individually speaking, I know these guys can probably relate, is that why it's so amazing, because you don't only get just the parents, you get the child, the youth, and then you get to see that through sometimes the years of their life, right? You can start being that support and have that impact at someone at a young age. And it's pretty remarkable to see like what resiliency and what can be done from that point on if you're able to be that kind of supportive person. I know that we all value like being that kind of impact in someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've all heard many times they're the challenging child or the challenging family that, you know, they've exhausted all avenues. But we kind of raise up to the challenge for that. It's, you know, I mean, they haven't exhausted everything. We just need a way to get through them or whatever. And when you can finally get through to find a way to help that family and that child, it's a great feeling. It's rewarding to see when the child realizes that, wow, I can be successful. It's a great feeling.
Gives us goosebumps.
Yeah, it's so important to have people who are in the field with those passions, because unfortunately you don't find that everywhere. So yeah, it's really inspiring to hear you all talk about your passions. Why, you touched on it a bit earlier, but why do you think it's important to have more community-based services as opposed to like institutions?
I think for us, it was a matter of working in the life space. So, you know, there's so many things that we can do. I think the connection is massive for going in and starting to build a relationship within their own life space. And it also helps with, you know, you might have someone who's really struggled with low mood or, you know, anxiety symptoms. And so for us going in their home, they don't have to worry about coming to an appointment. They don't have to worry about, you know, all those steps in getting there. We can actually come to you. So that was vitally important for our service, was to be able to go to families, go to those adolescents that are really struggling. So I think for that, I think it's important, but also just the private service, knowing that there's something available for people to be able to access without having to use hospitals or use sort of the system that's completely flooded at this point.
It's much more relaxing and inviting to the child and the family to be in their home, to open up to the issues that's going on, instead of being in a big institution where they feel micromanaged and judged. So it's that more personal level that they're going to communicate with you on a better level.
You like kind of touching upon that, like that comfortability, like that transfer of skills, right? So sometimes we can learn something and be taught something through treatment, which is great, but kind of transferring those skills in like your real working environment is very difficult for family and youth. And we see that, we recognize that. So if we can be that bridging gap in between like treatment with another professional and then being able to help transfer those skills and that treatment in their own working environment, whether that's like school or in their homes, then I think like you'll see a lot of progress in that sense, that you can like, oh, okay, I understand this is what I've learned or I've been taught, or this is what I'm getting experience with, but like, how do I apply that in my real life, right? And that's what we can help facilitate as well, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's super innovative, really, which is bizarre almost, because you'd think like a proper client-centered approach would recognize that meeting kids where they're at is key. But yeah, it's awesome that you folks are doing that.
Yeah, 100%. It removes a lot of barriers that even families and like not only child may face in kind of reaching out for support. We wanted to ask you because you guys are a fairly new service within the London area. We wanted to ask if you had a message you'd like to share with someone like a youth who might be interested in your service. Like, what would you like to kind of say to them?
Anyone want to go? I can go.
Go ahead, Jen.
I would say that I think we're really down to earth. I think we're really personable. I think give us a shot. I think that if things haven't been working currently with whatever treatment plan has been in the past, give us a try and see what you think. I think there is a huge difference with us coming into the home and being an immediate support to the parents and the child. So, I mean, I don't really have all the bells and whistles to say about that, but I do think that the clients that we have so far are pretty pleased with the service and have had a really positive experience thus far. So
The hardest step is making that first call.
Yeah.
And I think once you make that first call, you'll see that we are different. We're not that judgmental. We're not the scary big corporation.
No.
We're down to earth. We want to help kids and their families.
Fair enough. Speaking of services, are there any costs associated since it is a private service? Assuming there are, but
yes, there are. So unfortunately, I'm going to say unfortunately, because we're a private service, and the reality is that child and youth counselors are not regulated in the province of Ontario, which is really sad because there are child and youth counselors who are working so diligently on trying to get us regulated and get us recognized with insurance companies, just to be able to, have reimbursement of services. With that being said, yes, there is a cost associated to it. We are traveling, whether we're going to St. Thomas or Aylmer or within London. So the cost is, it's $120 an hour. Now, with that being said, our first meeting, plus HST, yes, we have to charge HST. With that being said, the first initial meeting could take up to 2.5 hours, and that's at the flat rate of $120 an hour. And that's really just to see, how we're meshing. That gives us an opportunity to interview, to gain all access to information about what the concerns are, and then sort of identify what the goals are for the adolescent, what the goals are for the parents or the guardians, and then come up with a support plan. And then based on that meeting, a family would decide whether they wanted to continue on or not with the support, and at which point we would, schedule whatever based on whatever they felt was necessary. We're not going to dictate to the family because there is a cost. We're not going to dictate what, you must see us weekly. No, that's not the case. We can make it as individualized as you need to based on finances. But our plan moving forward in the future is definitely to get our service recognized so that we can have families and adolescents, of all walks of life be able to access our service. So it's about trying to connect with the right people. I know James did some work with Jordan's principal the other day. So just kind of getting our name out there. Some insurance companies are recognizing us, which is amazing, and they will cover the, they will cover the cost. So, and I do know that I believe it's Green Shield, who actually identifies our professional association. So the OACYC, the Ontario Association of Child and Youth Care. Yeah, so that's been pretty incredible. But the goal definitely moving forward is to try to figure out how we can get everybody to be able to access our service without a cost. That's definitely the plan. Yeah. So.
The dream for sure.
Yes.
Simran?
Oh, yeah. I just want to make note. It sounds like not only are you guys like focusing on, like providing the best support for just the youth and the families, but you guys are also trying your best to kind of even counter this barrier, on the side, working with insurance companies. And I just want to acknowledge that's amazing. Like, because it is a lot of work, especially when you want to do good work, and there are certain barriers that unfortunately are there. I know, James, you mentioned it a little bit earlier when we were asking about like what message you wanted to kind of share with youth and families who might be interested. But we also wanted to kind of touch base on it a little bit more and talk about just reaching out. That itself can be really overwhelming for youth and their families to do. What would you guys say to someone or a family or a youth who is really hesitant to do so when it comes to reaching out?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think like the thing is acknowledging that it is difficult, right? It takes a lot of courage and vulnerability to put yourself out there to share your story. And I think what we see too is a lot of youth will reach out for services and like their first experience, if that doesn't go a certain way, or if that goes poorly for them, that makes it that much more difficult to reach out for services in the future, right? So as Jill kind of mentioned, right, like give us a shot, but like we understand that that's difficult, right? Just reassuring everyone that everything is confidential within like that conversation that we're having with that youth, right? And then ultimately, like we're here, a part of your team, to help kind of be involved in your life in a way that's supportive to you, right? So like we are really focused on making it individualized and personalized, and just reiterating that we acknowledge that it is very difficult of reaching out for support, and that maybe in times previous that has been hard, but if you can give us a shot, then we'd be more than happy to show you that we can work with you, we can work with your family, and have that collaborative kind of approach, and hopefully get somewhere with like attaining the goals that you're hoping to achieve. But ultimately acknowledging that it is tough, right? Like it is very difficult, and then just applauding them and like recognizing that like, hey, like I see you, like that was a really courageous thing that you did, right? And so while it's tough to kind of script it for like every person that reaches out will be different and unique. And we pride ourselves in that ability to also recognize that, right? So every time an individual reaches out, it's going to look a lot different of like what we can offer, and saying like, okay, we see you, we hear you. How can we make this work for you, right?
Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I can speak for myself, but also on behalf of Mind Your Mind, I think we're really excited to see this service being offered, and I'm excited to see you guys grow and the lives that you'll inevitably positively impact. And yeah, we're happy to help however we can.
We appreciate it.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
Sorry, Scarlett. I just wanted to acknowledge that anyone who's kind of hesitant, or maybe families have tried different things, we want to just stress the importance of how important the family is in our care. Our tagline is finding success from children and families working better together, and so we want to make sure that the families feel as supported as the adolescents. So that was just kind of my final thought with that. So yeah.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a great opportunity for us. We know like the impact that we've been speaking to some youth about what Mind Your Mind has to offer, right? So that's really exciting for us. For us to be able to share what we have to offer as child and youth counselors, getting familiar with what our role is and who we are, what we are, and then obviously like the services that we're ready to be offering for youth and their family. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.